Well, I'd like to confine my comments to the Conservatives' amendments. First, can I take point 1? That is, of course, after ignoring the usual fallacious point of delete all, a gambit which should be disallowed. Amendments should be instruments to alter, not annul, motions. And I notice the other two parties are using exactly the same ploy this evening. But I will be magnanimous in saying that we would agree with the points made in 2 and 4 by Plaid Cymru and in 2B by the Labour Party. First, can I take point 1? That is, of course, after... UKIP acknowledges the fact that Britain and Wales has always had a welcoming society and understands the part played by immigrants in the history of these islands. However, to pursue a policy of uncontrolled, open immigration when we have upwards of 1.5 million unemployed is an indictment of both Conservative and Labour governments. As an example, some 80,000 British students each year fail to find places on nursing courses, whilst the NHS continues to hire thousands of nurses from abroad. Add this to the fact that there are thousands of 40-plus nurses who have left to have families and now wish to come back to nursing, but cannot do so because they find the NHS prefers younger foreign nurses. Perhaps the fact that it costs the NHS £70,000 to train a nurse. I think, Stephen, we've heard you most of the evening, so if I could just be allowed my time at this rostrum. To train a nurse whilst they hire 3 foreign-trained nurses for an average salary of £24,000 is their reason for doing this. Let's get away from this nonsense of the NHS coming to a halt if we do not import nurses. The simple truth is we want nurses on the cheap. The same, of course, applies to doctors. So we continue to plunder third world countries to meet our own needs. I wish now to turn to the second point of the Conservative amendments. Recent events indicate that the UK government shows scant regard to public services. Recently highlighted cuts in the police and fire service bear witness to that. And as for our universities continue to recruit the brightest and the best from around the world, this is something they were doing well before the European Union and the advent of uncontrolled immigration. The difference, of course, was those students actually paid their tuition fees. Today, the stark fact is many abscond without repaying their student loans, leaving us with a £5 billion debt at 2013 figures. As for skilled labour for the business sector, we are actually turning away skilled labour from across the world in favour of unskilled and semi-skilled labour from the European Union. Yes, of course.
Just to say, universities in Wales are suffering because of the Conservative government's immigration policies, which are turning away students who could come to the UK. I know this from experience, so I have to say, David Rowlands, I don't think you're right about that.
Well, providing those students pay their way and actually do pay for their education here, we ought to be welcoming them. Absolutely. I'll deal with the Conservatives' third amendment with a reminder of the Conservative pledges under Cameron before the previous general election. He said, "Our plan to control immigration will put you, your family and the British people first. We will reduce the number of people coming to our country with tough, new welfare conditions and robust enforcement." Though how this was to reduce immigration, given the oft-repeated statement that immigrants do not come here for benefits, appeared to be something of an anomaly. However, he went on to say, "We will keep our ambition of delivering annual net migration in the tens of thousands, not the present hundreds of thousands. We will control migration. We will control migration." Did you want to say something there, Carl? I will give way if you want. No, okay, fine. We will control immigration from the European Union by reforming welfare rules, again intimating that UK welfare rules encourage immigration. We will clamp down on illegal immigration and abuse of the minimum wage. Well, we see that that is not being done. We will enhance our border security and strengthen the enforcement of immigration rules. And lastly, develop a fund to ease pressure on local areas and public services. All this proves the amendment put forward by the Conservative group and the points under that amendment show the turmoil which now exists under the Conservatives with regard to immigration, and that the Assembly Conservatives' amendments seem to put them at complete odds with their Westminster counterparts.
Jeremy Miles.